I'm Leo Light, and this is the Imperial Synaxis. Let's take it from the top. It's hard not to notice that most of the top watch shows these days are old. Like, really old. The critically acclaimed show The Office aired its last episode over a decade ago, and yet you wouldn't know that seeing as it still frequently tops the charts in viewership. Reruns of far older programs from days of old routinely dominate the landscape. The America of Seinfeld is basically unrecognizable to most modern viewers, yet more people seem to be watching that than whatever the latest releases are. And many of the so-called new programs all seem to be reiterations of far older franchises. The first Lord of the Rings movie came out over 20 years ago, but apparently nobody's come up with anything better since they just released a new Lord of the Rings TV show. Every new movie or show seems to be a sequel, a remake, or some kind of adaptation. The few new programs that do come out seem to be largely period pieces that take place in the 50s or the 80s or whatever the case may be, essentially banking on people's nostalgia for a happier and more satisfying past. All the same can be said of music, video games, and so on. It leaves you with the distinct feeling that everything has been frozen the last couple decades. It's like our culture is stuck. We don't know where to go from here, and we're just regurgitating the past and dwelling on it. We're like a depressed bachelor looking longingly at pictures of his ex-girlfriend from before his life fell apart. What happened to us? Nostalgia is the only thing that sells these days. Nobody seems to want to produce any art that takes place in our modern age. And even if they did, nobody would want to watch it. But why is that? Well, the answer is quite simple. Nobody wants to be living in the present era, so why would they want to be watching shows about our abysmal world? Everyone would rather watch nostalgic shows that allow them to live vicariously in a different era. It's escapism, pure and simple. Why wouldn't people attempt to repair our culture and start pursuing a new direction so that we can get out of this rut we seem to be in? Well, it's because pretending you're living in the good times is a lot easier and more gratifying than dealing with the hard times in front of us. Nobody wants to deal with the consequences and inevitable fallout of our stagnant and degenerating culture. They want to just escape to the prior ages where the consequences of our hedonism hadn't quite set in. Back to times where our culture hadn't reached the end of its rope. It's easy to obsess over the past as it seems sweeter than the present, but let's face it, the past led us right here to where we are right now. Clearly, our culture was built on some faulty foundations to result in the abysmal situation we're in right now. After all, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll of the 60s and 70s led us here to where we are. The cocaine-fueled Wall Street gambling and tasteless McMansions of the 80s didn't seem to do us any favors. I mean, hell, with a statement like, "greed is good," as our national mantra since the 80s, are we really surprised with the rampant corruption and materialism of the present? And then after the abject nihilism of the 90s, are we really surprised that everybody is depressed? That we're in the middle of a mental health crisis? We'd all rather go back to daydreaming about our decadent past, a past where the adults were asleep at the wheel. It was all one big party as our Titanic ship was hurtling straight towards an iceberg. It's a lot harder to have a good time now that the iceberg is right in front of us, that is. I mean, I get it. America has been one hell of a rager for the last several decades. It's been more of a massive, long, drawn-out party than anything anyone would have ever recognized as a real country. Sure, we had a lot of fun, but if we don't snap out of it and wake up and smell the ashes of our present age, we're headed straight for oblivion. We need to snap out of party mode and begin to man our positions again. We need to forget about this decades-long obsession with instant gratification and convenience. We need to drop this lazy, consumerist mindset and remember the spirit that originally animated us. The pursuit of happiness, mentioned in the American Declaration of Independence, doesn't mean the pursuit of fleeting pleasure and creature comforts. The pursuit of happiness is about the aggressive pursuit of a deeper kind of joy, a eudaimonia that comes from true life satisfaction that transcends the mere flesh. It's a battle cry for each and every one of us to become the ideal version of ourselves, who we were really meant to be. Things like religion, architecture, heroism, philosophy, and personal responsibility were thrown to the wayside in favor of cheap plastic crap from China and overprocessed chemical treats. Newsflash, your cheap junk is temporary, and a sweet taste in your mouth only lasts a moment. But aspiring to what is truly higher and becoming who you were meant to be is a kind of happiness that makes your entire life worth living. What a sick culture we are. We traded the Parthenon for Whataburger, Shakespeare for Michael Bay, a well-fitted suit for a boxy graphic tee. In essence, our pursuit of instant gratification, convenience, and ease of living has reduced us back into a state of relative barbarism. We haven't civilized the world. We've only served to de-civilize ourselves. There's an old parable about Hercules. Hercules was once offered eternal glory or a delicious meal. It seems like a farcical question, but in the story, Hercules almost chooses the delicious meal. America is Hercules, except we did choose the delicious meal, and ever since our glory has faded to a mere flicker. Were we just the flash in the pan that the world thought we were? Or can we rekindle our flame for a far brighter future? A future where we remember who we really are, and we leap over this hurdle we're stuck at. Why would we ever distract ourselves with the meager glow of our past when we could get up right now and set the world ablaze far beyond our present day and age? Let's arise and confront the challenges of our present. I mean, why not? After all, what do we have to lose? The future is abysmal if we continue to sit around and do nothing. And if we stand up on our feet and try something new, we have everything to gain. Keep watching The Office to experience the vibe of a slightly less meager world. Or rise up and forge a brighter world where we might just taste true happiness. The choice is yours. I'm Leo Light, and I'll see you next time here on the Imperial Synaxis.